Chairman, thank you so much. Sheriff Shaun Golden from Monmouth County, thank you for your time. I appreciate being here. Having served as sheriff for my 5th term now and for chairman of the Republican Party for duly elected 3 times, I'm here to talk a little bit about the bill and some of the problems. This bill is a retaliatory attempt by Senator Gopal to punish me directly. Right? There's no other elected official in the state of New Jersey that this bill targets other than yours truly sitting at this table. This bill was because I was about to expose the truth during his election campaign. Again, having served 7 years as chair without an incident and without a problem with Mr. Gopal during his election campaign. New Jersey has a strong public policy of protecting people who tell the truth and expose fraud, corruption, and violations from the law in retaliation to those that are responsible. Mr. Gopal runs a civic association that is an IRS 501c3, not a C4, a 501c3. That's a tax-deductible charitable organization that donors can take tax deduction making contributions to the organization prohibited from being involved in politics. Vin Gopal brazenly uses his civic association as a political self-promotion vehicle, promoting his name and likeness throughout LD11 by sending direct mail to constituents during election years, using civic association funds, mentioning that his namesake, Senator Gopal Civic Association, and inviting people to campaign-style events.
I don't mean to interrupt, Sheriff, and I'm granting you leeway, just if you can bring it back to the bill.
I certainly am. I think it's important to get a history and basis of why this bill is targeting one particular elected official in the state of New Jersey. I think we can all agree on that. So he continues to use and promote the name and likeness of other Democratic office holders in the district while only featuring retired Republicans to make it in mask that are no longer seeking election. He uses it to promote his political campaign page and campaign activities through the Civic Association and social media accounts. He does so all while skirting and bypassing the election law. Donors that have contributed to Senator Gopal's official state of New Jersey election account and have maxed out the same also contribute to the Vin Gopal Civic Association and are sponsored donors without limit, and without any check or balance.
Go ahead.
Chairman, I would duly respect an additional more time on my freedom of speech. I mean, my freedom of association is under attack, and I would just kindly request the chairman.
Maybe one of the other members can elicit additional information through questioning, but we want to be consistent in terms of the time limit. We've enforced
this reprehensible conduct flies in the face of New Jersey's public policy in protecting people who expose inappropriate conduct, and committee should decline to move forward with this bill. In short, the retaliation is against me for exposing a number of corrupt incidents within the Vin Gopal Civic Association. There are factual underpinnings that are unconstitutionally narrow in this bill.
Sheriff, we're
Chairman,
over.
I'm going to ask one more time. This is my freedom of association under attack.
But
this is my freedom of speech constitutionally charged.
We've been...
The one thing to say is I'm a constitutional officer and represent over 650,000 constituents in Monmouth County. I represent over 600 county committee folks in the Monmouth GOP. I would think that the committee would want to hear their voices through my actions here in this committee. I think...
we can ask questions. That would...
I will wait for the questions then.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Assemblyman Oth.
Thank you, Sheriff, for your testimony this morning. Can you tell us why you believe you're being singled out here, and explain in more detail so we have a thorough understanding of what's happening here?
Senator Gopal is extremely aware of the Civic Association activities being used for political purposes, not charitable donations as a 501c3, again, not a 501c4. It is a 501c3 with the IRS registered, You cannot ascertain on the public 501c3 website the donations in and out. You can only ascertain the operational costs of the 501c3. Therefore,
That's not relevant to the bill.
he's asking why we're here, and I'm telling him why we're here.
You're talking about what the purported motivation of the Senate sponsor is on the bill, but, you know, you can discuss the subject
Chairman,
matter.
I disagree with you.
The Assemblyman
disagree.
asked why.
I asked the sheriff if he could explain in detail
Which is
why
off
he's
the
being
bill.
singled out. He's starting to explain it. Why don't you let him?
He's speculating about the motivation, purported motivation, what he suspects to be the motivation of the Senate sponsor of the bill, which has nothing to do with the subject matter of the bill. He's off the bill.
No, he's talking about,
Assemblyman, he's off the bill. You can ask about the bill. You can ask about the bill. What someone speculates and wants to attribute to the Senate sponsor about why he's sponsoring a piece of legislation has nothing to do with the public policy, which is what can be debated in this committee and in this forum, which you're welcome to ask about.
Chairman, I disagree. It has everything to do with the attack on my freedom of association. That's what this is about. You know it. Everyone knows it.
Sheriff, I'm the sponsor of the bill in this House, and we have
Correct.
not met before this day. Is that fair to say?
We have not met before this date.
Are you
And
suggesting
so
that
if
my
you-
motivation has to do with, you know, a 501c3 in Monmouth County?
Well, maybe you don't know about it, which is when you asked why, that is why I want to deliver the history of why we are here today.
Sure, but that doesn't relate to the bill, which is what we can debate here, and which I'm willing to afford considerable leeway in discussing. but
Very good. Let's get
but
started.
That's not, you know, that's not what the Assemblyman asked about. So go ahead,
I
Assemblyman.
have factual underpinnings if you want to hear them.
yeah, I'd like to hear him.
There may be a forum for it, but it isn't this. In
This is
terms
a
of,
hearing
this
on the
is,
bill. I don't know if
this
you're
is a
talking
hearing on
about
the bill,
constitutional
not
factual
why-
underpinnings of a bill. Why would we not have the discussion?
This is about a bill about whether constitutional officers charged with certain things like
Sure.
guarding an independent judiciary can also hold leadership positions in partisan political parties. But it isn't about a 501c3 that's
Well, being brought
operated-
forward it is. Yes, it is.
operated, I guess, with an eponymous legislator.
Chairman, on the bill then, Sheriff, you mentioned
Assemblyman.
there's constitutionality issues here. Could you,
Factual underpinnings of the bill are illogical and unconstitutionally narrow, and I will explain. Everyone knows this bill is thinly veiled in an attempt to remove me as chair of the Monmouth GOP during Senator Gopel's election campaign. It wouldn't apply to any other current county chair in the state of New Jersey. All the reason given for the restrictions and positions are just pretext to accomplish this goal. The fake reason for S 3838 and this bill reads as follows. Processes related to the election in the state and protecting county courthouses and their assigned personnel, which I think you're alluding to, Chairman, are conducted with integrity and without the appearance of significant power or control and influence by certain political party officials who play an outsized role in the process by which the line is awarded to candidates in a partisan office. For that statement to be true, the legislature would have to make a finding that constitutional officers, all of whom are bipartisan office holders on either side of the aisle, would not properly perform their duties if they hold any leadership position in any political party, but otherwise would. It would also be impossible to make that finding because there are no causal nexuses between the alleged problem and the proposed solution. Being the party leader has nothing to do with the performance of the daily duties of securing the judiciary in Monmouth County. All of the constitutional office, and I challenge the committee and Mr. Gopel to find otherwise. In my 7 years as chairman and over 12 years as sheriff, there has never been one complaint by the judiciary and the Superior Court judges of Monmouth County. It is an insult to the sheriff's office and all of my officers and all of law enforcement in the state that we would suggest that they would not perform their duty based on politics, based on and protect the public, because a head of an organization or someone that is their subordinate or their command leader would somehow participate in party politics. In other words, every officer in the sheriff's office and in law enforcement that deals on a daily basis with the judiciary has the right to freedom of association without regard. And I will say this, I haven't met a law enforcement officer yet, or a sheriff's officer in my office, that has not done so in protecting the public, in protecting public safety, in protecting the judiciary, based on politics, based on their association with some political party, regardless of ideology. Judges in New Jersey are appointed, not elected. To date, there have been not one complaint to suggest this to be the case. County clerks, for example, perform extremely limited, mostly ministerial roles in the election process. It too suggests the clerk would perform the role differently. Any clerk of any party in any county, it would suggest, that would perform the role differently because of the party chairperson or some party leader.
Sheriff, do you feel
Why
that,
not ban the actual party, the actual people that count the votes
Sheriff, do you
instead of the
feel
county
that,
clerk?
do you feel that the judges that you protect should also be allowed to serve as political party leaders?
The judiciary should remain neutral. However, as you know,
But the
and
folks
down
who
in the
guard them
Senate
shouldn't.
chamber, as we here are speaking, they engage in pre-appointment politics, right? We all know that, Chairman. You've been involved in that. All the Senate judiciary downstairs has been involved in that. But we would like to think that once the judges are appointed, they remain neutral as neutral parties on the bench. That being said, senators have more control down in that Judiciary Committee. Right now, they have more control and influence over the judiciary and judiciary subjects in our courts throughout the state of New Jersey than yours truly sitting at this table.
Can I continue my
Yes, sir.
question, Chairman?
You may have some in.
Thank you. Sheriff, just to, you mentioned a couple other things, and I'd like to just have you expand upon them. You're an elected official. You were just in an election, your last election. You had a pretty substantial victory. How exactly do you feel about your constituents being disenfranchised by the legislature as a result of what we're doing here?
Again, when you bring up the constitutional freedom of association, I am their voice as the leader of the party and as the leader of constituents throughout Monmouth County. So if you're asking if this disenfranchises their leader and disenfranchises the party and disenfranchises the constituents and voters of Monmouth County who overwhelmingly elected me by over 40,000 votes last November, and who overwhelmingly in county committee elected me 3 terms, again, 7 years without a problem. All 7 years, Senator Gopel was sitting there. It wasn't until he knew we were gathering information on the Vin Gopel Civic Association, the 501c3, where donors can contribute and sidestep the electoral policy. You all just passed brand new election laws, right? This needs to be looked at by the state comptroller. It needs to be looked at by the Commission of Elections, and really needs to be looked at of the IRS, because again, this classification cannot be used for political purposes.
Oh, that's not on the bill. It's also what you are describing is not a violation of the subchapter 501c3, and elected officials up and down the state.
Raj,
and
I
both
got to
parties
ask you, you have a
501c3s.
501c3? Does anybody at the table have a 501c3
I do.
here?
I have a foundation, which is a
You have
501c3.
foundation with your namesake and name on it?
Yes.
And you take donations from the same donors for ELEC?
The Raj Mukherjee Foundation is a 501c3.
Same donations from those that donate to the election account?
Not necessarily, but there's probably
Do
some
you think
overlap.
that's proper appearance for the
If-
public? Is that transparency, that nobody can see the amount of donations taken in? Nobody can see that
It's not
in
on
your
the
record.
bill, but it's
Well,
what's
maybe we
permitted
should
by
put
the Internal Revenue Code.
maybe we should include in a bill or have a separate bill that would include the transparency of 501c3s.
We're way off the bill, but it's completely unrelated to, if it's carrying out charitable purposes, which is,
It's non-transparent.
then you should lobby Congress to change the rules governing 501c3s.
I'm sitting here lobbying some
But
great
nothing
Assembly
you've
people right now.
described but regardless, it's just, we're off the bill. But, okay, so next, actually,
No,
we may have further questions, sorry. Monmouth County Clerk Christine Hanlon will testify next, but let's finish the question.
Chairman, thank you so much.
Assemblywoman Flynn,
Thank you so much, Chairman. Thank you so much, Sheriff Golden, for being here. On the bill, do you know of any examples of where party leadership has been represented by someone similar to you as a constitutional officer, whether a clerk, sheriff?
Oh,
Any other
there have been
examples?
several. You know, in the history of Monmouth County, there has been. There was a clerk that was 30 years as party leader. In Middlesex County, the sheriff, Spicuzzo, was 14 years chairman in Middlesex County. We can go on. There's plenty of incidents where constitutional officers have held party leadership positions.
And it would be both parties, right?
Oh, I just mentioned bipartisan people. I mentioned Monmouth County, a Republican county, and a Republican chair, and I certainly mentioned the Democratic chair, former chair of Middlesex County.
And is that why today, where there's no one else but you, as a Republican chairman in Monmouth County, you believe you're a target?
Well, it's evident that you're a target. In fact, why wouldn't you not make anyone, in terms of amendments to the bill, meaning senators, sit-in assembly, county commissioners? As I said, senators have more power over the judiciary right now downstairs in their chamber than I do. County commissioners award contracts and budget. I don't, right? Senators and lawmakers make the laws, and they have a power of appointment. I don't, right? So it begs the question, why aren't all elected officials included in this bill? Why not every senator and assembly put your name on this bill so that you too cannot hold party chair leadership and influence the way you think it's being influenced, which we all know is not the case. Let's do county commissioners. Let's do all elected officials, as we know some mayors have the authority over certain commissioner spots, commissions, and authorities, right? They have that power. So what I'm saying is it's targeting. It's targeting one individual. It doesn't target all the others, and I can name bipartisan. Certainly, Senate President is a county chair. Certainly, we have a couple of county chairs in the Senate on our side of the aisle. All should be part of this bill with an amendment. This bill should cover everyone with undue influence, not just the constitutional officers, senators, assembly, county commissioners, and elected mayors. They should all be included in an amendment to this bill. Then it wouldn't target one single person out of the hundreds of elected officials across the state of New Jersey.
And what about the constitutionality? Do you have any other things that you didn't get a chance to cover that you want to do?
I'm going to leave that to our Sheriff's Association and Constitutional Officer Association attorney, who's slated to speak, as well as Dale Florio, our lobbyist. But there are certainly a number of constitutional issues of which, the most of which being is the freedom of association that is only being taken away from one person and one person only in the state of New Jersey. And I will raise my voice, and I will be sure that I point out the targeting that is taking place. Senator Gopal is using his senatorial power recklessly and dangerously. The system here in our republic, our democratic republic, is valued on our constitutional amendments, and one of those is the freedom of association. The Constitution also, as you know, Chairman, requires checks and balances, so that when you have a rogue senator targeting one specific person for an unconstitutional law in many ways, and I'll let the attorneys hash that out, right? There should be a system of checks and balances. So I would think the Assembly would put a check on the senator himself saying this is not right. Everyone who takes a look at this bill in bipartisan format knows this is wrong.
Isn't it true that the sponsor of the Senate version of the bill had been the chair of the Monmouth County Democratic Party in the past?
Yes,
Oh.
he himself was the Democratic chairman for Monmouth County.
And at any point in time, did anyone try to prevent him from doing that from the Republican side of the aisle?
Not that I am aware.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one follow-up question, please? Thank you. Sheriff, are you familiar with Senator Joseph Cryan?
Yes, sir.
And I'm a friend of him, And
I am as well, and he
Very-
served as sheriff,
he served as
and
an
he was part of our
undersheriff
Sheriff's Association.
and as an assemblyman and a party state chairman, all at the same time. And I never heard from Republicans or Democrats a complaint about that.
And I've been in office for much of that time, and I have not either.
And, you know, while I'm sure Republicans are chagrined at how effective Senator Cryan was, you know, shame on us for not being able to beat him, but we didn't go after him legislatively at any point. Do you ever recall that?
I do not recall any bill that went after any of those party chairs that held multiple offices during that time.
Thank you.
Well, the earlier version of this bill was a Republican-sponsored bill. It's been out there. There was also, well, Senator Corrado has a bill, Senator Sweeney also had a bill. There was also a Democratic version, that's true.
Include everybody.
Okay, thank you for your testimony.
Chairman, thank you so much.
County Clerk, Madam Clerk.
Good. Is it afternoon or morning? Never done this before, so I'm glad to be here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be heard. I won't repeat what our illustrious sheriff and chairman already said. I would just like to give another perspective relating to this bill. According to the New Jersey Constitution, the positions of sheriff, clerk, and surrogate are elected positions. And by their very nature, an elected position is political. The one constitutional officer not intended to be political is specified as such in the New Jersey Constitution, and that is the prosecutor, an appointed position. Had the drafters of the New Jersey Constitution intended that the other constitutional officers be non-political, they would have specified as such in the Constitution. Any change to the nature of these elected positions set forth in the Constitution, I submit, requires a constitutional amendment. And therefore, by legislation, you may not take away rights or change the nature of the constitutional officers' positions. You may add rights and duties by statutes, but I submit that you cannot, without a constitutional amendment, change the nature or take away the rights of constitutional officers. The political and targeted nature of this bill is evidenced by the fact that it only targets some elected officials and not others, and only some politics and not others. Had there been an intent to ban the 3 elected constitutional officers from politics, there would have been 4 appointed constitutional officers, but there are not. There are 3 elected and only 1 appointed. County Clerk Jim Beach served as the Camden County Chair. Sheriff Joseph Spicuzzo served as the Middlesex County Chair. County Clerk Frank Rogers served as the Hudson County Chair. Sheriff Frank Davenport served as the Passaic County Chair. County Clerk J. Russell Woolley, for 30 years, served as the Monmouth Republican Chair. And of course, Sheriff Shaun Golden, and there are others as well. For a century, our legislature supported the New Jersey Constitution and what the framers intended with respect to the elected position nature of 3 constitutional officers. So I ask, why not now? Why not today? I think we all know the answer. We all, as elected officials, take an oath to support not only the Constitution of the United States, but also the Constitution of the state of New Jersey. And I respectfully urge you to remove this bill from consideration and at least take the time to examine the constitutional implications of this bill, both for the United States Constitution and the New Jersey Constitution.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions from the committee? Assemblywoman Flynn.
Infringing upon my First Amendment rights here now. Jeez. Okay. I think I only have one question for you, Madam Clerk. Are there other clerks presently serving as members of the state political parties? Are you aware of any?
Yes, absolutely. There are constitutional officers today who serve as state committee members, which are political in nature, which goes to the question of the rationale for this bill and the political motivation of this bill. Because if you're only targeting one type of politics or one type of political position, it evidences the targeted and political and retaliatory nature of this bill. Because you're not removing constitutional officers from all other political positions. State committee, state party chair, county committee, elected official, these are all political positions wielding all types of political power. So to pick one thing evidences the political and targeted nature of the bill.
So it's fair to say that state committee people, they have pretty much, they're involved in a lot of political.
They're involved in politics all the time. They are the ones who are authorized to elect the state party chair that runs politics throughout the state.
So, and do you have any understanding or rationale why it's only targeted in this one area? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, in my opinion, it relates to what the sheriff has already testified to.
And you feel targeted?
That's why I said, why now?
So you
Why-
feel
why
like
today?
your party, the party that you affiliate yourself with, the party that you participate in, you feel like you're being targeted for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Clerk? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Okay, next we
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you both.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we will have Gary Rich.